Sound the alarm, she's here!
Lights out!
Oh!
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 best M-rated Nintendo 64 games. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're taking a look at M-rated games that managed to stick out from the crowd. And trust us, the Nintendo 64 had a lot of garbage games for older players. So, these were gracious gifts to take a break from the more kid-friendly titles. Did you play any of these back in the day? Which one was your favorite? Let us know in the comments. Duke Nukem 64.
Hail to the king, baby.
The Duke may have had his reputation ruined forever by Gearbox and Duke Nukem Forever, but this one is still a riot. Admittedly, fans of the Duke were probably disappointed at how the N64 version of Duke Nukem 3D was limited. No music because of small storage on the cartridge, items were changed to have no mention of drugs or alcohol, and all profanity was removed because, you know, Nintendo and its family-friendly image. Even with these changes, Duke 64 boasted the same fantastic level design, energetic action, and outrageous set pieces. It isn't the best way to experience Duke Nukem 3D, but for what it is, it's still acceptable. Mace, The Dark Age.
Round one, fight.
Midway published some questionable fighting games in the late 90s. You don't see anyone raving about War Gods or Mortal Kombat 4 these days, do you? Of them all, Mace, The Dark Age was one that managed to turn out pretty solid. Considering the time and platform it was released on, the graphics and character models are surprisingly detailed, and they managed to hold up rather well. The designs of the different stages were also refreshing to see compared to the same 2D planes of most fighting games. Sure, the controls are kind of janky, but for what it is, it was far better than what Midway served up later. Forsaken. When it comes to shooters on the Nintendo 64, how many of us immediately think of GoldenEye 007? Unfortunately, one fantastic shooter that was, and still is, often overlooked is Forsaken. Whereas typical shooters keep you on the ground and in confined spaces, Forsaken took the genre out of the box and gave players complete 360-degree movement. You no longer worried about what was in front of or behind you, but what could be above or below you as well. It demanded complete spatial awareness and mastery of its controls, and though it made for a challenging experience, it was one we'd gladly replay today. Shadow Man. As more and more games from the past continue to get rediscovered today, so too does the demand for remasters, remakes, and ports. Shadow Man is one title that has found its way into the modern era thanks to Night Dive Studios' work on a remaster, and after spending a few hours with it, we can see why it's deserving of its cult status. The macabre atmosphere, the gloomy environments, the edgy and horrific story, it all blends together in a unique action-adventure title. And this all goes without mentioning the interesting story centered on voodoo magic and the notorious Jack the Ripper.
Stay your hand, Jack, and listen to what I have to say.
How did you find this place? Who are you?
My name is Legion, for we are many.
Quake 2. Let's get one thing straight. Quake is best played on a computer. Rarely has the franchise worked as well on console as it does on PC. However, Quake 2 manages to retain the frenetic action on Nintendo 64, and it does so with flying colors. The controls work surprisingly well, even on the console's insanely awkward controller, and the multiplayer was just as fun as it is on PC. That said, allow us to reiterate, the Quake games are best played on a computer, but Quake 2 on N64 is just as fantastic. Turok 2: Seeds of Evil. Between the two Turok games we were given on N64, Seeds of Evil manages to stand out far better than its predecessor ever could. Seeds of Evil took the dinosaur theme and over-the-top brutality of the first game and improved upon everything surrounding it. The visuals were finer, the AI was smarter, and the levels were more intricate and impressive. The addition of mission objectives made the experience feel more immersive compared to the typical shooting gallery approach of FPSs at the time. Suffice to say, shooter fans should absolutely get a hold of this game, whether it's on N64 or modern hardware. Doom 64. Not many studios have had the chance to take on the Doom IP with their own spin. Of the few that have, Midway steals the show in every way. Doom 64 tilts the series into a more horror-like atmosphere with its ambient tones, eerie environments, and grim colors. On top of that, it places in more hidden sections to ambush players while incorporating that claustrophobic feeling into its many corridors. Fear is the name of Doom 64, and after spending all 30-something levels on your toes, you'll keep coming back for more. Resident Evil 2. Many of us probably experienced the original RE2 on PlayStation, but the real experience was on Nintendo 64. No, the visuals may not have been as sharp as Sony's version. However, it came with a wealth of features no other version had. In addition to refined controls, N64 players were also given alternate costumes to unlock, more documents to add to the lore, and even an item randomizer that made the game highly replayable. Needless to say, we were eating good on the platform, way better than its initial launch the year before. Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Conker, honey, fancy going for a bounce?
A bounce? Okay. Now this is what I call a platform game.
Of course, what other game could you think of when it comes to adult-oriented games on a Nintendo platform? Conker's Bad Fur Day was the game that every adult played and every kid wanted to play, and understandably so. Even today, the humor is still incredibly hilarious, the writing is witty, and the visuals hold up. There simply hasn't been any other game quite like Conker, no matter how serious, cartoony, vulgar, or ultra-violent it tries to be. Do we really need a sequel to this? Because from where we stand, Conker reached perfection with this one game.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
Perfect Dark. Is it really a surprise to see Rare steal the top 2 spots on a list centered on the Nintendo 64? These are the folks who made GoldenEye 007, and if they showed the world how FPS games could work on N64, they sharpened it and made it better with Perfect Dark. It wasn't enough to simply tighten the controls and shooting. Rare pushed the hardware with better lighting, smoother polygons, a various selection of detailed textures, and the inclusion of co-op on top of that sweet multiplayer deathmatch. And lest we forget about the incredible sound design and voice acting. Perfect Dark was undoubtedly a revolutionary game. We just hope its future is as bright on Xbox as it was back then.
What's wrong?
I have a headache. And with a head this big, that's no joke.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Mojo Plays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.